Good day, everyone. This is Joe Pascal. Welcome to our webinar. Just letting some participants sign in. We'll be starting momentarily. Good day, everyone, and welcome. My name is Joe Pascal, Chief Revenue Officer for Facility Grid, and welcome to our webinar on 5 steps to improving job site productivity. Presenting today with me is Alex Kozinets. Alex is our Chief Customer Officer, and as a former mechanical engineer and commissioning professional, he's personally used Facility Grid in various mission critical projects. Alex leads our product strategy and customer success, as well as directing all of our educational programming and webinar activities. He's actively involved with our clients in project planning, setup, and execution. I've asked Alex to join us today to share some examples as we walk through our ideas on how to improve productivity and get perspective from real life situations as we're working and engaging our clients in the field. Today you're in listen only mode, so I can't hear you, but if you have any questions during the webinar, please ask them using the GoToWebinar question widget, and we will try to answer as many questions as we can at the end of the webinar. So let's get started, okay? Due to market demands and competition, we're all under pressure to improve our processes. Businesses and technology are trying to adapt to an ever-changing environment. But ultimately, the construction industry is a very labor-intensive business. And despite tremendous advances in design and coordination and management technologies, the physical installation of work, all the checks that have to be done, and the validation that things are mechanically and functionally ready is relying on people. Now, researchers suggest that contractors can lose almost 30 to 40 billion a year in labor inefficiencies, and this was last year collectively across the industry. Now, at an individual contractor level, the productivity deficiencies translate directly into enterprise margin erosion. And overall, unfortunately, as you look at the past couple years, labor productivity in the construction industry is actually trending in the wrong direction. And it's a challenge that appears to be getting worse, not better. Now, we're all here focused on the building systems and the assets associated with them. And we all know that these systems and the labor associated with them are a significant risk to cost overruns. Yet, these parts of the project might actually offer the biggest opportunity to capture improve profit margins based on different technologies that can really support the project. So, fortunately, while labor is a significant cost of project, it's also one of the most controllable variable costs. And managed well, labor productivity can significantly improve bottom line margins. Managed poorly, as we all know, labor overruns or exceeding labor budgets can wipe out, our profitability. So when we think about, the common problems, what are the internal and external challenges that we want to highlight today and that hinder success? And if we can address, can make an actual impact on profitability. Now, many are trying to address these issues using spreadsheets or emails or sort of generic solutions. They've even developed internal solutions, homegrown. But the challenge is still real, and overall, teams are struggling with the how to effectively communicate with one another. And if you're not communicating effectively, you're not collaborating, you're not coordinating effectively. And ultimately, the teams are not aligned. And this is really where you see a lot of the efficiencies and issues arise, right? So, adoption is critical to get usage and, and helping everyone really get on board. And one of the challenges is just the technology is not always user friendly and easy to use. We know that documentation is your friend, and documentation has become more of a struggle to try to track and maintain and monitor. I mean, you could easily just think about one system and then all of the different pieces of equipment connected to that one system. And now, so I could be dealing with maybe, I don't know, 15 different individual assets, for example. And each one of those has different activities, which may include from site inspections to all the different inspection documentation along the way for safety that has to be done. And a lot of these items are need to be completed before startup. And we walk through startup, we've got mechanically complete checklists, and by the time we get through functional tests, just with one system, I can have hundreds of documents, let alone when I start to really tally all of the different pieces of equipment. If I'm dealing in a project with 5 to 1,000 or more, the documentation tracking becomes really can be a daunting test. So, the point is all of these items here that we're looking at, and I don't want to go into each one individually. We can all read them, but they start compounding into one, and collectively they become a big deal, right? And this is going to create a lot of efficiencies and lots of cost increases, and more importantly, risk to even higher cost items, which could be delays or penalties. And I think what today we want to argue is really, frankly, it's not necessary because there's purpose-built solutions available to address a number of these items. And these are just some of the items that are really impacting and what's fueling, that annual 30 to 40 billion dollar of labor waste that we're seeing across the industry each year. So, planning and communication and collaboration, they're really the three biggest problems that we see. Not only are, we losing money due to inefficiencies, but in many cases, we're just wasting money because, we're not able to coordinate effectively and keep the teams all in sync, working in unison towards our end goal. And if project labor overruns are a common occurrence, well, then that obviously translates directly into profitability across the enterprise, which suffers. So, there's an obvious connection between labor performance and profitability. And those firms with fewer labor overruns tend to be more profitable if you look at the research papers and the numbers. And even in some of these surveys that we've seen, contractors will readily admit they believe that, um, 10, 11 to 15% of labor costs are wasted, or just due to unproductivity in hours. And look, while it's unfair to expect everyone to reduce their waste to zero, I think there is a real potential to improve these items and significantly impact overall project performance and profitability, and the bottom line. When you look at the average profit margin, sort of collectively across contractors and in the industry, it's easily 4 or 5%, right? So if there is error or impacts in labor overruns, quickly can bite into that margin, right? The other thing that's not mentioned here is just the amount of turnover that we're seeing in the market too, right? So, the research also sort of states that many are expecting, 30% turnover of field managers over the next 5 years, right? Which means that keeping staff engaged, providing the right support will be crucial for retaining top field talent, right? Companies that do a better job at supporting the field, empowering the field leaders, are going to have a much greater likelihood of attracting and retaining top talent. And this makes sense, right? Because if a field managers are not supported with resources or information they need to be successful, nobody likes to be on a losing team. And this is sort of a team sport if you think about it, right? These projects are the collection of a lot of key members, and we want to give them everything so they have the best opportunity to win. So, the good news here is, as we'll share with you today, is I think a lot of these are correctable. And there's going to be a lot of problems with your projects, but I think that you can increase the probability of success and reduce the likelihood of some of the challenges you have, and reduce the risk, so you can control some of these labor items. And how are we going to do this? So our ideas on how to increase productivity really is one. We're going to talk about how digitizing your process is essential, and it is about going mobile, but really it's about empowering the team to have the right information at their fingertips when they're at the job site, or when they have a call from someone and need answer and questions, and they're always prepared, so that they're well equipped to work in the office, and where most of them, or we want them to work, at the job site, getting getting the project done. The next thing we're going to highlight is knowing before you go. Okay, I can't. Many times when I talk to different clients, it's really the importance of really understanding what's done and what's not done, what equipment's ready for testing. We all know and have experienced visits to job sites where we really didn't know what was done, and wasted visits, which translate directly into labor costs and real inefficiencies. So we want to make sure we've got real clarity, again, for collaboration and better communication and coordination, to ensure that we know what's going on at the job site before we even get there. And when we get to the job site, we want to make it easy for the team to participate in our quality assurance program or our commissioning program, being able to easily fill out whatever checklists or documenting issues right there, collecting the information one time, and then knowing that it's done, it's captured. So how are we going to maximize on-site productivity? I think that's another way to reduce labor time and inefficiencies and costs. Ultimately, communicating progress. Projects are driven by the schedule, right? And the schedule, and for coordination, we really need to know what's happening. So how can we provide better transparency to improve communication, and obviously coordination, to make sure that all the stars are aligning, and that team, right, in our sports concept, are all sort of working on all cylinders are work and operating together. And then at the end of the day, accelerating turnover, right? This idea of, look, we know at the end of the project, and I've heard again many stories of the issues that clients have initially with just a week or two or three where they realize they don't have all of the documentation or equipment information or the information that's required from the owner to get off the site, and they're going back and recovering tests that were lost or documentation that they thought they had that was not there. We want to make turnover easy, right? And it really is about having a process and program in place that you're building, towards that turnover every day of the project. And there aren't any surprises, and it's easy to monitor and reduces the stress at the end of the project, so you have everything ready to turn over. So these are our 5 steps to increasing productivity. Um, let's dig in here. So digitizing your process, right? So it's the goal here is to improve efficiencies with a tool that is personalized and purpose built to really help the participants in the field get done what they need to, but also just make it easy for them to adopt. This is actually one of the most concerning hurdles that we initially have when we start with new clients is, how easy is it for the team in the field to adopt? Well, the way you make it easy is you keep it simple, right? And so you want a way that it provides immediate value. So the member in the field sort of knows what's going on, and they see your tool as a way to update them on really what's done on and what's not done, or status of an issue, or if they forgot a document, they have a quick access to an important documentation. Really being able to streamline the process in the field, but also it should be easy to use and personalize. So, they can open up a checklist and there's no question on what they're responsible to fill out, right? Because ultimately, we really want the team to work anywhere. So making it easy for them to capture photos in the field, mark up, document issue types, assign, and when they assign issues, having someone notified so they can easily share information with members. We've seen in Facility Grid the ability to shrink notification on issues from what would be 3 to 4 days to instant. As you all know, the sooner the team knows that there's a problem and it's basically weighted on how critical it is, well, the sooner I can order that equipment or part or re-coordinate my other resources to move to a part of the job that I can still maintain and keep pace. And so this idea of having a solution in the field, digitizing your process is really critical. But again, it needs to be purpose built with all the key items that are really important to the construction process. When I think about Alex, before I go on, Alex, you're on the job site often, right? How have you found the adoption? What does it really take to get the trade partners or the team, aboard here when you're on site?
Absolutely. I mean, when I started in this industry with commissioning myself about 15 years ago, where everything was on paper, Word, Excel, and bringing the all the checklists, functional tests, and binders on the job site. Back then, really commissioning was kind of looked at as a necessary evil, and a lot of times, um, the construction team was not fully aware of what's required from them. And what we're seeing now with the tools, um, with mobile apps, smartphones, is where whether it's general contractor, whether it's trade contractor, where they not just participating in the process, where they are part of the process, whether it's commissioning or quality control, and making it easier for them to get to the stuff they're responsible for. So when I go to sites, when I work with general contractor trade partners, and I help them, with trainings. It really takes 15-minute, class where I basically just say, okay, here you go. This is the QR code. Navigate to the piece of equipment that you are responsible for, whether it's you need to complete a checklist, commissioning or quality control checklist, whether you just need to update a status, upload the document, take a picture, respond to an issue, and that's basically it. And so it really helps the team to understand that with a few clicks they get their job done, because it's not necessarily the most important work to document what happened. The most important work is to actually build things, but documenting things are also important, and making that as straightforward as possible is what these tools are able to do.
Yeah, and by making the process easy for the team, right? Keeping it simple, making sure it's personalized. So when they open up an app, it just really provides them what they need to complete. Um, Once it's digitalized, then I can actually track it, right? And so then, as the field is completing their process, um, all of the status on those activities, what's done and what's not done, can flow into more dashboards on status, and remove the entire need for spreadsheet tracking, right? Which can be another huge labor time suck when they're updating all these spreadsheets and trying to keep track of documentation and all these other items. So creating and digitizing that process not only makes it easy for the user to execute, but also makes it much easier for us to automate the tracking of progress each step of the way. The knowing before you go. This is the idea of having real, again, collaboration, coordination is key, that we've seen to really reducing labor costs and efficiencies, and improving all overall productivity. And there's this idea of being able to see down at a systems or an asset level what's done and what's not done, right? Being able to, maybe it's by role or participant or group, what's completed and what's actually ready for testing. Um, being Seeing the job details in advance provides ample time to check prior to getting on that job site, and coordinate, so you're not wasting just job site visits alone, right? Also, creating sort of workflows that enable better collaboration between the teams. So this idea of being able to see that the equipment had already been, the previous tests have already been reviewed by maybe the controls trade partner, and they validated that the tests are valid, so I'm not showing up on test day with issues. Or I can confirm that the inspections were captured and they've been reviewed. So we are ready for startup, and we can coordinate, everybody on the certain date, and it's going to be a successful, efficient use of time for everyone. So, there's a lot of things that just knowing before you go, and the preparation with a couple, easy steps, can really make a significant impact and reduce what is a big another issue with just overall costs. And let's dig into this a little bit more. What's this idea of project copy, and how we help on the setup, Alex? What do you advise clients when we're talking about, you know, improving their ability to be prepared on their jobs?
So a lot of times what we see our clients work on projects that are similar. So for example, if you work on data centers, there's a lot of things that are similar from project to project. For example, workflow. So the data center, if commissioning providers use commissioning levels to create their workflow, create their checklists. if you're working, maybe on a retail project, so, or any type of project where the workflows are similar, checklists are similar. Uh, we've recently, this is new to us, we recently introduced this new feature that really enables our users to create projects in minutes. Just basically take your previous project, navigate to the project screen where there's a functionality to copy projects. You can select what features or what sections of the project you want to copy, and this really gets you going right away. I've personally been involved in projects where you get a phone call that says, hey, you hired on a job, and you're already late to start working on the project, and you need to show up on the job site tomorrow, right? And uh, obviously that's not the ideal situation, but I'm sure we've all been there. And for someone to create a project in minutes, just basically copying your previous project, that's a huge benefit. Again, it's up to the users to determine which section of the project gets copied, which functionality, but the you know equipment types are probably going to be very similar from project to project. For similar projects, that gets copied. Like I said, activities, checklists, functional tests, and it really helps the users to kind of streamline project setup and get to the job site as quickly as possible.
Yeah, so clients are standardization helps improve the predictability of project outcomes. And if you can templatize your workflow, one, utilizing a system that is flexible enough to basically replicate your process, whatever that is. And then, and once that process is set, let's say that's 80% of a common approach to most projects, you can then templatize that and then every time start with a project setup that's almost 80% complete or more if it's 100 very easily, and you're on your way and improving that predictability and outcome. Um, and then that translates into really being able to track now from project to project those processes that help you again with predicting how well the project is pacing or performing. Right? We all know that if certain activities represent milestone completion and likelihood to meet certain deadlines. Knowing before I go, also being able to, through a closeout tracker dashboard or whatever you're utilizing, a way that you have real visibility down to the status of an activity, how that relates either to a particular asset or a system, as we can see in this example. Knowing the documentation, sort of we look at equipment startup in this example, I've got sort of documentation that's required in gray, or documentation that's been loaded that's yellow, or documentation that's been reviewed. But there's a central dashboard where everybody is on the same page and can see what's really ready, so that I know that should I be there for startup, or are we ready to move into functional performing? Knowing what's done and what's not done in essential ways is really key. Um, Anything you want to add on this, Alex, that's been helpful?
Sure. I mean, projects today are very complex, right? When we design buildings that are very energy efficient, that are intended to use as least as possible of energy. Um, there's a lot of things that need to be tested. There's a lot of things need to be verified on a job site. And when you are, managing tracking of project activities in a spreadsheet, it's very difficult. It becomes very difficult sometimes. You have thousands of pieces of equipment. You have tens or hundreds of different activities that need to happen for those for that assets. I mean, take a look at your any spec section, the part three of the spec that talks about the all the required tests, quality control, commissioning. all of that needs to be managed. You need to keep track of all the documentation, of all the records of those activities. And so when this gets done in a spreadsheet, and takes a tremendous amount of time to keep it up to date and communicate to the project team, that becomes very difficult. So having a dashboard like you're seeing on your screen right now really helps the project team to stay on top of um, what's happening with every asset, what's there, what took place, what's still outstanding, and kind of brings everyone on the same page.
Yeah, and it removes the emotion, right? I mean, here's a way I can quantify and collectively, all the team members can see what's done and what's not, and keeps everybody on the same page. So I know that I'm going to the teams are ready to operate and keep moving forward. And reviewing documentation, right? We want to make it easy to acquire documentation. And also, before I go to a site, making it easy to review issues and responses. And that may be, I might be traveling from site to site or different buildings or different locations. So having this on my mobile or my smartphone and being able to respond and coordinate is also, can make a significant impact at reducing just overall labor. I've spoken to many clients. We talk initially, and they'll tell me, they go to the job site, they take 20 to 30, 40 pictures through the day. Then they have to go back, and if it's that day or the next, there's a point where they have to organize all of that, get that into spreadsheets, email. It's a very decentralized process. There's a lot of opportunity for improvement just in issue tracking and coordinating a resolution of those issues with a solution like facility grid that empowers the team in the field to document once, immediately notify, and then track, the whole life cycle of that issue to completion. And again, keeping everybody on the same page. And this can reduce, again, response times to keep that project moving and hopefully, avoid further delays. Pre-functional tests, Alex, you've had a lot of experience with clients with this. This is a feature that we get a lot of positive on there. How do our verification tests impact knowing before you go?
This is a very interesting topic. I love to talk about this. What this does for your team, I know Joe, you already used the expression remove emotion, but this really removes emotion from um, the from performing the functional testing in the field. How many times we've been to the job site where we were told that the equipment is ready for functional testing, and then you show up there and it's not. And uh, and that really becomes a point of where fingers start being pointed at different people and different participants, and a lot of times the blame that's been assigned to is not correct. It's not always the contractor's fault. A lot of times it's most of the time it's actually not the contractor's fault why systems are not ready for functional testing. There are issues and mistakes in design that prevent from the sequence operation to be uh, written properly, and the functional tests that represent those sequence operations, they do not meet the reality. How many times change orders are issued on a project and maybe commissioning team is not notified of changes in the sequence operations, and the functional test scripts do not match what's actually programmed in the field. um, and so what's happening with pre-verification testing is basically ability for the project team to not just review the functional test scripts before the formal tests are conducted, but really try to run those tests ahead of the formal testing by commissioning provider, and to verify that yes, whatever has been programmed on the job site, whatever whatever graphics are showing. This is the system is going to be performing as expected. um, you don't need necessarily to run every functional test for every piece of equipment. A lot of our clients just concentrate and run maybe one of a kind pre-verification testing for one of a kind equipment, major equipment. But what we're seeing from our users who use this functionality, it's a huge increase in productivity, right? We have a client that told us that basically the number of issues occurring or being uncovered during the functional testing has reduced on the project from 300 to 3. And it's all because the team took time to pre-test equipment, uh, to uncover any issues that actually occurred during the pre-testing, get to the bottom of what happened. Again, like I said, whether it's a design, whether something did not get installed properly, where maybe the submittal was not incorrect, right? But the point is that all that gets addressed ahead of the formal testing. And so, when the contractor shows up at the formal testing, knowing what's going to be asked during the testing, right? Knowing um, how the system is going to be performed, it's like showing up to an exam with an open book, right? You know what's expected. Are you going to address or eliminate all the issues? Probably not, but you're going to be much further ahead with the testing. And so again, we are we recommend as much as possible use the pre-verification testing. And again, it'll definitely help your team to get to the project to get the project further along.
Right, because test day can you've got to coordinate with a number of different participants involved, and we all want to show up without. We don't want anyone to have their fingers crossed with just some preparation and visibility into the pre-testing. That'll make those test days when everyone's there go smooth and have a higher probability of success. And ultimately, the goal of getting it done right the first time, well, this is going to improve the likelihood to catch those items early. Um, Now, maximizing on-site productivity is really about being able to have what you need in the field at your fingertips at any time, and making it easy for those participants, whether they're a project executive or a trade partner or an MEP supervisor or system executive, whatever those roles are, to be able to see, bring up a piece of equipment through, a QR code or find that equipment record very quickly, and then know the status of the equipment, right? And what tasks have been completed, and the relationships to that equipment. So the dependencies for that equipment. So that way they can really get everything they need and get that job done. This idea of being able to enter information once on the device that you're using. So we know that we can provide a lot better tools that are purpose built for the team to answer these important questions and get the information they need to make decisions and coordinate and collaborate right out in the field. And then enable everybody to work in parallel with each other. Because we've got, electrical may need to do the same, tests on the same piece of equipment as the other trades. So we also want the different teams to be able to work easily on their mobile device. And not overlap with each other's work. So the devices need to be well equipped on all the different specific needs. And when you think about this idea of really understanding what's going on for an individual asset, um, it should be easy to see, all the tasks that have been completed, based on your process, right? And knowing that the documentation has been loaded, or if there are open issues, where are the issues, and having them right there when you're at the job site, or when a project executive calls or an owner wants to know what's going on and you're out in the field and you want to answer and respond quickly to show that you're on top of everything. So really maximizing on-site productivity is really about having not only the way that you can execute the checks, but the information you need to inform and make decisions right there at the site. Um, we think about the overall checklist status and being able to see what's done and what's not done. Maximizing on-site productivity is when you're there with, with the trades or with whoever's supposed to execute the checklist, being able to easily confirm that they're getting done and seeing that for individual pieces of equipment, right? The goal here is, a quality assurance program is only good as those that participate in it. And I want to not only make it easy to participate, but I want to be able to monitor the participation and ensure that the checks are being done and answered. And I have then confidence that I'm really moving closer and closer to a successful final acceptance testing. But the key here is, those valuable quality assurance steps that you've put together are actually being done, and having those details at your fingertips on the job site.
If I can add here, so we've been working with our clients on, helping them to, kind of keep all their activities, all the quality control activities in one place, and all the records related to those activities. So as I mentioned before, you know, open any section of your spec on the project, go to the section 3 of the spec, and it talks about all the different quality control and commissioning activities that are really part of the or part of the contract, right? They're all required to be completed, and you're required to, maintain documentation for that. You look at the generator, you're required to conduct load bank test, you're required to conduct merger test, and so on and so forth. Um, so what we're seeing in across the business is that um, a lot of our users starting to use the what we call them standardized checklists that are they may have only 3 questions, couple of questions to a team performing the activity, asking them to confirm that activity took place. The second question may just ask the team members to upload supporting documents. Let's say you conducted load bank test, you conducted startup of a piece of equipment, you have documentation with that. You just upload it to that checklist. And then the third question would be typically to, let's say, general contractor, maybe asking them to verify that they review the documentation. The values are in that documentation are correct, everything is acceptable, and it really helps you track uh, all the records related to building assets in one place. This is a huge benefit, not just to the project team during the construction phase of the project, right? It's also at the end when your team is required to deliver the turnover records um, for all the activities that took place. It's basically uh, being able to then quickly combine all those records and into one zip folder, and being able to kind of eliminate hours and tens or hundreds of hours that it takes to put together that record. And again, we're seeing a very um, great uh, you know uptick in using this, taking this approach, and you know um, in using those standardized checklists.
And the relationships of the assets matter, right? And so How many times does someone that's new to the job site wants to look at the drawings because they have to understand the relationships between the systems or the equipment, and they've got to dig and dig and dig and dig, right? We want to make it easy. Again, we know what we're dealing with when we get to the job site. It's the systems and the asset, and they all sort of relate and work with each other in different ways. Some feed, some are being serviced from different pieces of equipment. So increasing on-site productivity is all about being able to really look at the relationships and the interdependencies and being able to evaluate the status of those other interdependencies, the other pieces of equipment that may relate. So having this idea of a solution that can create or support your ability to build and provide details on the hierarchy. In this example would be an air handling unit number 4, and seeing the particular equipment that's feeding that air handling unit and what system that air handling unit is feeding or space as well. And then with being able to click through if I need to see, well, what's the status of the generator? Or, oh, that's panel. Let me make sure that's let me see the activities and the state of that panel and being able to work through. So maximizing on-site productivity is providing a holistic view of all of the systems and the interrelationships at your fingertips. Again, when you're at the job site, so you don't have to constantly go back to those drawings or dig for it. You want it right there at that fingertips to save time, and again, then focus on the decision making and the next steps that have to be done.
There's one more consideration for using this Fed from functionality. It helps address safety concerns. So we've heard from our users where if an accident happens on a project, you need to be able to quickly get to the equipment that serves or to electrical equipment that serves your let's say mechanical piece of equipment, right? Um, so you need to quickly shut down the electrical power to this HU4. Um, using a tool like this with fed from information can quickly identify, what that panel, what that switch gear that feeds your equipment, and you can quickly isolate it to that piece of equipment.
Yeah. So communicating progress is our fourth key opportunity to improve productivity in the job site, right? And this gets in with really bridging the gap between what's happening in the field, the realities of that, and communicating, in this example, to the schedule. Being able to have the details captured in the field, whether it's or a system that's monitoring activity. So like if someone starts a checklist or completes a sign off, identifying that is connected to a task, and that task is either in progress or completed. But then also being able to connect those activities to a timeline, because we're all working towards the schedule here, and it's integral to our overall success. So being able to communicate progress and get everybody looking at these building assets in one central location, connecting the scheduler to what's happening in the field and so forth, is another way to not only increase productivity, but also empower and improve coordination. Right? When things are slipping or behind schedule, or I need to sort of move resources around, being able to see that is going to give me more of an opportunity to be proactive instead of reactive, which then again translates into hopefully reducing wasted labor because because of poor coordination. Um, and progress is not only important to be seen within facility, but also with other key applications. Facility grid or whatever application you're utilizing to track progress of your building assets is a best of breed purpose built solutions. We're going to argue the best one for tracking building assets. But as we look at sort of the ecosystem that we work within, there's best of breed solutions for, as an example, Procore for the work that they do in the financials and change orders and submittals and other reasons why you might use Procore. Or you may be working with partners that are utilizing Procore, an owner that's using Procore. So you want systems that are integrated in some way and provide more visibility. As this example, here's our one of our many screens that we have in Procore. And again, so now my project executive or owner that works in that environment really understands how those building systems are progressing each step of the way, what's done and what's not done. So everybody has a central location to coordinate and work together. Um, but the communication of progress, you know, our clients are not all the same, right? And coordination and communication, as we sort of talked about with our own workflow, our workflow can be is flexible to basically replicate your process. Our reporting is also flexible to replicate your reporting process. And so here we have an example of utilizing our API and our flexible reporting, utilizing Microsoft BI to really now understand and present the key performance indicators in a format that is ideal for our clients' workflow. The key is having a solution that can track the actual progress, when things start, when the state of the activities, when they're completed, percentage complete, and how they relate to other important measures, like in this example might be, the location, or maybe it's equipment type, or just overall status on my workflow and seeing how I'm progressing. And being able not only to look at this at a project view, but now, as we mentioned, templatizing and maybe standardizing a portion of your process. Now that enables me, because I'm tracking at an asset level, to roll it up not only at a project view, but also a portfolio view. So, if I'm head of a certain region, I can, again, look at my overall projects and communicate with the team. And again, making sure that everybody is coordinating effectively through this. Alex, have you used this much? Are you seeing our analytics being adopted in the field, and what kind of responses are you getting on this?
Uh, that this is also a very interesting topic. It's all about data these days, right? So everybody talks about analytics, how important to know what's happening on on the project. As you perform various activities in facility, whether it's commissioning, quality control, um, we really within the platform there are different screens that show you the status of things, status of checklist, status of activities, right? But there is tremendous amount of data that gets captured on every project. So what we're seeing is that our users are now starting to realize the importance of that data and and how the data can be used. So not only by using our standardized screens like closeout tracker, timeline monitor that shows you the status, um, you can go really deep into understanding the status of activities. So, for example, what you're looking at right now on the upper left corner, you're looking at an S curve. S curve that represents the status of actual activities versus anticipated, right? And we have all the data. We know when activities need to be completed. We know how much you've actually completed. And so why not utilizing the data? So we are seeing our users adopting our API capabilities. They either use our standard templates that Facility Grid can provide you with, build these types of analytics, these types of reports. Some of our clients who are more, sophisticated, have more sophisticated uh, um, users of Power BI. They can, go further with building these different types of analytics. And again, as Joe has mentioned, not only this can be built on the project level, but also on the portfolio level. And the great thing with utilizing the tools like that, they can really be adapted to your um, responsibilities on the project. So if you're a project manager and you need to view things at a certain level, you can turn this reporting tool for into your kind of everyday go-to screen. If you are managing a region and you need to know on a very high level what's happening on your projects, where the areas of concerns, which issues are being open over certain number of days or months, right? Again, you can very quickly navigate to that information. So we are seeing a huge uh, uptick in um, requests from our users to connect to Facility Grid using API and help them with building these types of analytics on their projects. And so we look forward to to working with the clients and helping them get this information.
So right, so this directly can translate into better collaboration, better coordination, and then allocation of resources and labor to again hopefully reduce some of that wasted time. And then our last one is really accelerating turnover and knowing you're ready to operate. And so the goal here is to have some way or solution that can help you track the process each step of the way with all the documentation, the requirements as the project unfolds, right? A central repository that makes it easy for you to monitor, confirm, and validate that the information is being collected. So at the end of the project, turnover is not so stressful and full of gaps, right? So not only that is providing a central way that you can easily transfer the data to clients in a format that they can receive, whether they need to push data into their CMMS system, or you're able to have all the training documentation ready to go, videos ready to go, and you can track as you're training the personnel and validating that they're ready to operate day one, and even leaving sort of behind whether it's a QR code tag that facilities can continue to reference when they want to go back and review the original sequence of operations or set points or the device calibration that may be stored in Facility Grid. This idea of accelerating turnover and reducing sort of the time at the end, so you know you're prepared. The turnover documents are complete and comprehensive, and that means that I can get through acceptance quicker, and I can pull up stakes and move on to my next project. And I'm not stuck there trying to sort of get all the data that I failed to get during the project. Um, so as we look at the 5 steps to increasing productivity today, hopefully we gave you some ideas on and reassurance that while labor is a significant part of our costs, and we're seeing inefficiencies in that cost, there is a real opportunity to make an impact and utilize tools to get to more productivity out of our teams, maybe more predictability out of our projects, and more control for those. And overall, improve coordination and collaboration and project results through that. So we're running up on the end of the hour. We took a full hour of time, and Alex and I would just like to thank all of you for participating today. Hopefully, we shared some ideas. We're having a lot of success with our clients. We're working on some of the largest projects in the U.S. right now, and if you have a project in mind, we would love to collaborate and speak with you about our process and how we may be able to improve your overall project results and reduce risk and improve profitability. So thank you, and have a great day.